That's all I have to say about that. Hello world, welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about all the books that I read in March. I don't have physical copies of all of them, so you're just going to have to use your imagination, but I am confident that you can do that. So the first book I finished in March technically is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling, but I already covered that one in my wrap-up for last month because that was exclusively about the sort of annual readathon of Harry Potter that I do. I was going to say that I do every year, but that's kind of what the word annual means. Anyway, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. It was awesome. I really loved rereading it, and yeah. Next up, I read Adulthood is a Myth, which is a collection of Sarah Scribbles comics, and you've probably seen them before. They're all over the internet. A few weeks ago, I did an event with a co-worker where we manned a stand for the ABC, which is the bookshop that I work for, at a sort of a comics event in the Netherlands. It was very quiet and I got bored, so I picked up Sarah Scribbles' book and I just read it in one sitting. It's hilarious and relatable and just a really fun, quick read. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars, and I also managed to cross off my comic or graphic novel square on the ABC reading bingo. I then read Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, which I got sent through work. I talked about this briefly in the tag video that I did with Leon a couple of weeks ago. It's full of these wonderful stories, kind of like mini biographies with illustrations on the opposite page of all kinds of women. There's 100 women and 100 illustrations in there. I really loved learning about some of these women because there's a lot of them that I knew or that I'd heard of at least, and then there was a whole bunch that I had no idea about, and that was actually, I think, the funnest part. Anyway, I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I docked a star because I felt like some of the endings of the stories were a bit weak. I feel like if you only have one page to kind of make your point, you need to sort of end with a bang, and I feel like most of them just kind of petered out. But still, I would highly, highly recommend this book. It's actually currently at Abe's place because I was like, you like feminism and art, you need to read this. Next up, I read We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. We Should All Be Feminists is a teeny tiny booklet. It's a sort of an essay adaptation of a TED Talk. It's been receiving a lot of praise ever since it came out, basically, and I was really expecting myself to go yes every 2 seconds while reading it. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, I found myself very critical, and personally, I felt that there was a bit of a lack of intersectionalism. I felt there was a huge focus on the gender binary, and that's not something that I personally believe exists. So that already kind of, I don't know, it was, yeah. I mean, obviously this is a very small book, it's more of a booklet actually, and I know that I can't expect for something that tiny to really go into everything in detail. And I mean, it's called We Should All Be Feminists. It's not called Why We Should All Be Feminists. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that in just a handful of pages you can't go into every detail ever, and it's more of an introduction into the world of feminism for people who aren't necessarily very aware or think that this is a real issue. It's just that I guess I was expecting a more sort of wider, broader view. And this is a very personal, like narrow scope, I suppose. I'm not familiar with the TED Talk itself, or with any of her other works, but I wasn't blown away by this one. I mean, I think it's great. I think if you know nothing about feminism and you need a bit of convincing to see why this is an issue that you should care about, then this is definitely a great place to start because it's super tiny. You can read it in like, I don't know, 20 minutes. It's just that I didn't, love it as much as I hoped I would. Next up, I read Now You See Me by Sharon Bolton. I already did a video on this book specifically because I read this for a traveling book project organised by Claire from the Book Fox. If you want to hear kind of more detailed thoughts on how I felt about this book, then definitely go check out this video. I realised that I didn't really show you in that video any of the annotated pages, so I thought it might be fun to do that. There's something here. What I love most is when different people, different colours of pen sort of collaborate on annotations. This is a really big one. This is me, the black pen. The dark blue I think is Claire herself, and then there's pink all over the place. The pink pen belonged to someone who didn't enjoy the book very much, so there's a lot of pink kind of screaming over the page, but that's fun. I also use this book to cross off the middle square of my ABC reading bingo, which is the Freebie Square, and I thought this would be a nice thing to use that for. The next book I finished is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is a book that I heard people talk about a lot, but I still didn't really know what it was about. I knew that there was something to do with like trauma or illness or something, but I didn't know if it was a scary book or not. I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. I'm gonna try and see how I feel. This book is absolutely beautiful. It's about this boy whose mother is suffering from, I think, cancer, and it's about him sort of learning to cope with the fact that she might not be around forever, and his father is kind of absent, and his grandmother comes over to kind of look after him, and he really doesn't like her. And it's about all those dynamics, but mostly it's about this tree creature, kind of like this ancient god type creature, who comes to him a couple of times and who in its own way sort of guides him through this process. I hope that I didn't just give too much away, but yeah. The illustrations in this book are absolutely gorgeous. Let me just see if I can find one. This might give too much away. Oh, this one is beautiful. I really don't know how well it shows on camera because it's black and white and it's quite dark, but there's a house over here, and this is kind of the tree creature who is huge. It's like a giant. There is also a film adaptation of this book, which I haven't seen yet, but I definitely want to see it soon. Speaking of which, a book based on or turned into a film/TV show. Next up, I read 10 Sorry Tales by Mick Jackson. This was recommended to me by one of my co-workers. This is actually her copy that I'm borrowing. Thank you, Esther. This is a short story collection. They're kind of like magical realism-y stories with a dark twist. I enjoyed this collection a lot. I feel like the stories are the perfect length for short stories. That's just how I like them. They're a really nice sort of balance between kind of sad and funny and absurd and all these different things. They just blend so well in these stories. Alright, so after like 2.5 years of doing this, apparently I'm still not very good at it because my camera battery just died, and I have no idea what I was in the middle of because I had to charge my battery, and it's been like, I don't know, half an hour. But anyway, read this book because it's good. I then read The Circle by Dave Eggers, which is about this sort of Google-like corporation who basically steal everyone's privacy away without them noticing. Everything is done under like the guise of the greater good, you know, it's safer if everything is transparent, and there's also this very strong undertone of you have a right to information. You as the public, the general public, have the right to know everything. I had some trouble getting into this book, but it started to pick up just as I was about to DNF it. I still didn't love it. I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm considering doing a separate review on it because I feel like there's a lot in here, especially as someone who is on social media quite a lot. There's a lot in here that I want to talk about, but there's no way I'm gonna fit that all into one wrap-up video. Also, as you can see, The Circle is an ABC favorite, so ABC favorite, check. I then read Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jen Campbell. I don't have the physical copy because I read it at work on my break. I just took it off the shelf, took it with me to the break room and read it. I don't know why I'd never read it before because I've been aware of its existence forever. I don't know, it never happened. But in retrospect, I'm kind of glad that it didn't, because now that I have like 1.5 years of experience working in a bookshop, it's so fun to read it. There's just so much recognition when reading the book, even the weirdest things. Like I would read them and go, what? And then I would think, oh, actually, something very similar to that happened to me just 2 days ago. Occasionally, I come across stuff on Tumblr where people post interactions that they have at work that are funny or whatever. I would love to see more. If you have any recommendations of like websites that do this, let me know. This week, someone came in and said, do you sell picture frames? So I said, well, we're a bookshop. And he said, yeah. So I said, no, we don't sell picture frames. And then he left. Finally, I read Bee Journal by Sharon Borodale. This is kind of a poetic collection of like notes and thoughts made while beekeeping. The author kept a journal and this is kind of the result. The poetry itself didn't really do it for me. Also, the introduction by the author didn't really do it for me. So I guess his style is just doesn't really click with me. But I was really captivated by like the bee culture. Similar to when I read The Bees by Laline Poole, which is a completely different type of book. It's also very similar in many ways because they are both very true to like how beehives work. There's just something so fascinating and like hypnotizing about it. And I really enjoyed this. It's quite short. It's like 150 pages and I love this edition. It's really beautiful. It's part of a series. It's like the Birds and the Bees series or something. Yeah, Birds and Bees by Vintage. They're all pre-existing books, I think, but they did sort of redesigned them, I guess. One of them is H is for Hawk by Helen MacDonald. A Sting in the Tail. This is really tiny by Dave Golson. The Running Sky by Tom, I have no idea what this is. And Crow Country by Mark Cocker. Yeah, also gorgeous. Anyway, that's what I read in the month of March. Quite a decent selection of books. Some of them very tiny, you know, so that really helped with kind of getting the book count up. But I feel like after a month of Harry Potter, I really needed some variation in my reading, so yeah, it was great. If you want to hear more about any of the books that I talked about in this video, definitely let me know and maybe I will do separate review videos. I haven't done a book review in months because I tend to feel like I'm not good at them and then I keep kind of putting them off until I don't remember anything anymore and it's too late to do the book review, which is stupid. So if you want to see me do a review of any of these books, let me know right now and I will get to it soon. If you have any book recommendations for me based on the books in this video, definitely also let me know. I'm always open to suggestions, even though my TBR is like a mile long. That's okay. There's plenty of room for more. I don't know. Is there? Probably not. Nobody cares. In other news, completely unrelated, I am doing a vegan challenge this month, which means that I'm eating vegan for the entire month, and I thought it would be nice to vlog that experience since I now have a new vlogging camera, which is not the camera that I'm using for this, by the way, so I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Anyway, look forward to some vlogs of me preparing vegan food coming your way soon. I have no idea if that's something you're interested in, but I enjoyed making the smoothie vlog and some people asked me to do more food vlogs, so they're coming. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Alright, so that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it got quite rambly towards the end there. Thank you for watching and I will see you again next time. Bye! Diddly 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 diddly.